never really encouraged us to play football, so I never really got into football too much as a kid. I had an injury when I was in 8th grade, which did not allow me to play contact sports. I ruptured my spleen.
Gotcha.
And I thought, in college, I thought, man, my wife someday is going to love that I'm not all about football. And then I married the football queen, so she's all about football. So my wife's a Dallas Cowboys fanatic. And
gotcha.
My son loves the Colts. My other son likes the Steelers. And Dad just sits around and does his art. So.
Now, one of the funny things you mentioned earlier, too, and I have a question all set up where you just kind of walked right into this. See, I used to love coloring books, too, and you mentioned you stole your brother's crayons, but I couldn't stand the lines. Does every good artist have to overcome that?
I tell you, I was a very in-the-lines type of person when I was a young artist. I was a perfectionist and all those type of things. And it wasn't until my later 30s that I started doing what I do now, which is really outside the lines.
Right. Absolutely.
I used to be a technical illustrator for General Motors and Ford, doing really tight car illustration type things.
Okay.
So outside the lines was never, a lot of what I ever pursued. And how I ever got into what I'm doing now is kind of a mystery in a way, because it's totally against my artistic grain.
Wow.
It's not what I did as far as schooling. It's not what I did as far as, my whole childhood desires and all those type of things. But
right.
The Lord has a way of taking things that you'll say, I'll never do, and letting you do that. And He can wrap it around so you can do it for His glory. It's pretty amazing.
Did you study different classical artists and painters as well?
Well, I always liked Norman Rockwell.
Right, you mentioned that.
My hero. I really like Michelangelo stuff. There's some other the old masters I really liked. Always wanted to be like the sculpture, but never really cut it. I don't think as a sculpting type student. I really got this urge right now to sculpt something. Like. I tell my wife, I want a fountain in the yard.
Right.
And I want a fountain where you can drive a truck around it. Baby elephants with their spouts spitting out the water. That kind of thing.
Sweet.
And in fact, when we moved to Indiana, we live out in the country, and I told my wife, I'm going to sculpt a baby elephant and put it out in the field next to our yard. So people will drive by and they see cows and they see horses, but they'll do a double take. Hey, look at that! There's an elephant in that guy's yard. And she says, "We're not going to be the elephant people. If you want to be the elephant man, do that on your own thing." So I did a little bit recently. I write novels and children's books, and so.
Oh, well, that's cool.
I'm illustrating a children's book right now called "Stan the Snowman's Plan for a Summer Tan," and. To understand my characters in 3 dimensions, I sculpted them out of Play-Doh, just so you can draw something easier if you can see it from 3 dimensions.
Now, we probably have a whole bunch of listeners scratching their head, having no idea what it is you're actually doing.
Bozo.
Yeah. What's going on, Scott? What are you doing? Who are you talking to? So. For our listeners who have no idea what it is you do, I'm first going to suggest that they go to YouTube, type in Mark Eckel or Splat Experience, and watch one of the videos. But Mark, tell us what you do on stage and the story of how this began.
Well, I was in the Detroit area, in Troy, Michigan, attending church with my wife. We were going to the Troy Baptist Church. I had a reputation in the church for being one of the artists of the church, and this lady who was doing the drama, she came to me, her name was Molly, and she said, hey, we're thinking about doing something different and kind of a dramatic thing. This girl's going to sing a song, and we want to have something come to life behind her while she sings this song. So we're thinking about having an 8-foot canvas, and you have 3 minutes to create a drawing or an illustration.
Okay.
So my mindset was always, Lord, if you want to use me, I'm there, So I immediately said, sure, I'll do it. And then I stopped. What is this again, an 8-foot wall in 3 minutes? There's not much time to really do anything. You know,
right.
No brushes. There's no Michelangelo happening on that deal. So I thought, well, I'll just take some paint and kind of throw it up there with my hands and get a basic idea of something on the canvas, just a shape. And so that's what we did the first time. It was a picture of Jesus hanging on the cross, and we did it twice that Sunday. And that was that. So we went back to living life. A few years later, I got a new job offer, which brought us to Indiana, where we are now, and started attending a small church in Pearson, Indiana, First Baptist Church of Pearson, and a very small church, about 100 people. Was soon found out to be the artist guy, and so the pastor said, hey, you're the artist, creative guy. Can you come up with something creative for our Easter service? I thought, okay, I did this thing 2 years ago. I painted with my hands, and you know, if you want, we can try that again. Okay, let's give it a go. So we made a few modifications to that. It was kind of intended to be a one-time performance again.
Yep. And
after the service, the pastor said, wow, that was just overwhelming. Everybody was in tears. They were just crying. They were just totally overwhelmed by what you did. Let's do something with this.
Right.
So George Paiva, my pastor at the time, he and I started a ministry called SPLAT Experience. And so we've been going now for almost 10 years, and we travel around the world. And it's just myself now. I travel, and my wife, Julie, she is our business administrator, and she handles all the hard work, and I get to run around and play and paint. And we just want to tell people about Jesus, and we focus on two different things. One's a worship in the church. We want people who know Christ to just be enthralled with who he is. We want people who are believers to really relish in who Christ is and what he's done for us, his love for us. And then the second thing we want to do is evangelism. We want to tell people that don't know who he is, so they can come over and join those who want to celebrate and worship our Lord. So everything that we do falls under one of those two headings. It's either worship or it's evangelism.